Well, good morning. Yes, it's just morning. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, ladies. It's Deb Courtney from debcourtney.com. And I'm very privileged today to be introducing the first man on Your True Self. It's been focused a lot on women, but I have to bring this special man in and talk to because David has been a really big part of my life and had a huge impact in my life as well. And I know that he's had a huge impact on lots of people. And it's not about men and women. And I know I work with women, but obviously when I work with health and in the health industry, I'm working with, all walks of life. So it doesn't matter where you're going to get your aha moments from or who it's from. It's as long as you get them. And I know that I've got a lot of those through David. So David Nomchong, thank you for joining me today. Thank you for being the first man on the show.
My pleasure. Thank you, Deb, for inviting me. That's I feel very honoured. Thank you. And I just want to say that we live on Mother Earth, and so the feminine is actually coming into a different balance now. So don't apologise for having that focus. It's actually a very good focus. It's a nurturing, empowering, and creative focus. And that's long been the case. So, I'm glad that you're pointing. I've always intuitively known that, by the way. It's just, the patriarchal energy in the world is now swinging back to a matriarchal influence.
Yeah.
And ultimately, hopefully, we'll get to some balance. Where it won't swing too far either way. But at the moment, we're swinging harder towards the feminine, and that's okay.
Yeah.
So I know you want to talk about health and well-being, so I might just tell everybody a brief of my health story.
Yes, I would love that because it is really, I've heard it times, but every time I find it really fascinating, and that, you've just come so far in 40 odd years, and you've had a quick, you had to do a switch around and the way in belief patterns and how you valued things and all of that. So yeah, I'd love you to share it with everyone.
Well, in about 1989, when I was a pup, when I was 39 actually, I'll be 71 this year. When I was 39, I got diagnosed with leukemia, and I was told at best I had 5 years. I had 2 little girls and a wife of 7 years. And I thought, oh my God, what am I going to do? And what about all my plans? I had this big business goals and, plans, and I'd been successful in business, and all of that was being thrown out the door.
Yeah.
Over the next 11 years, I had 8 types of chemotherapy, 4 types of radiation therapy, 42 blood transfusions, 15 platelet transfusions, and I got to what's called end-stage disease, where I was refractory to all treatment, and they thought I had about 90 days left. I was the 5th patient in Australia to have what's known as a mini bone marrow transplant, or a mixed chimerism bone marrow transplant. And prior to that, they never gave transplants to people over the age of 50, which I was, because it was too toxic, and the patients usually died from the chemotherapy, from the treatment. So that they found that hadn't been a very successful methodology. Anyway, the long and the short of all of this is I had the first bone marrow transplant and it failed. So they decided they'd give me a second one and it failed. And then they decided to give me a third one and it failed. And they said to me, look, we're beside ourselves, but we think we're going to give you a 4th transplant because although you're refractory to all treatment, this 4th transplant might make you more sensitive to more chemotherapy, and we might be able to give you another 18 months. And I thought, oh, joy, more chemotherapy, just what I want. So they did give me that 4th transplant. But when I was coming home I had that transplant as an outpatient, believe it or not. They infused. I got to the point where I had it as an out, and I drove home after the procedure. And as I was driving home, I was driving away from St Vincent's Hospital in Sydney, down Macleay Street, Potts Point, I got to about 112 Macleay Street, and I stopped my car. It was December, January. It was quite hot. I had the air conditioning on. I'm sitting in my car. My hands are on the wheel, and I was really angry, and I was angry with God. And I said, God, creator, whatever you want to call it. I'm not really a very religious person. I'm spiritual, but not particularly religious. I said, God, I've had enough of this. I got my car, I'm holding onto the wheel. I'm sitting in a park position in Macleay Street, Potts Point, in the middle of the cross, basically. I said, I've had enough of this. I haven't gone through all of this pain to die now.
You threw in a few swear words along the way, didn't you?
I did have quite a few swear words. I actually said, fuck this, I don't want to die now. I call back all my energy, all my life force, all my denied parts, all my energy. I call it all back to me right now. And at that single moment in time, I felt my body start to heat right up and get really hot. And I started to vibrate all over. And my hands are shaking on the wheel of the car. And I'm just sitting there and I'm vibrating. My body was vibrating. And then I felt like somebody had poured a hot hose of light through the top of my skull. It went down through my head, all the way down my spine and into the earth. And it was like I was a hose. You know, when you let the hose go and there's water going through it and it's sort of flopping all over the place. That's what my body felt like, with this energy pouring through me. And I thought to myself, something's happening here. And if you've ever seen the movie The Green Mile, the guy in the jail has all of these bees and everything come out of his mouth when he lets all the evil out. I
Spoiler
had
alert,
all of these.
sorry.
Pardon?
Spoiler alert if you haven't seen the movie.
Yeah, sorry. I had all of these guttural sounds come out of my body. And it was like I was letting go of all of the emotions that were held and attached to my cells. All of the denied feelings, the terror, the fear, the anguish, the jealousy, the guilt, all of these weird emotions were coming out as sound. And I just sat there, and I don't know whether it was 3 seconds, 3 minutes, or 3 hours. I had no concept of time. I was just vibrating all over. This noise was coming out of me. My body was heating up. And in my mind, I'm saying, people are going to think you're on drugs. And then I realized suddenly I was on a lot of very dangerous drugs at the time. And I thought, this might be my mind playing games with me. But I felt intuitively within myself that something had shifted.
Yeah.
And then I drove home. And then I started to justify myself. No, you're in drugs. No, you were making it up. No, you were stupid. But I still had this intuitive feeling that something had changed. 54 days later, I had a bone marrow biopsy, and the pathologist came out of the pathology room, she knew me because I'd been going there for 20 years, and said, come and have a look at this microscope. I didn't even know what I was looking at. And she's saying, see, no leukemia. We can't find it. It's disappeared. And I haven't had it since.
Amazing, isn't it?
So now I'd done everything. I'd tried everything. I'd been to America. I'd done Rife therapy, far infrared therapy. I'd done lymphatic massage, intravenous vitamin C. I was doing therapy that was costing me $10,000 a week, and it wasn't killing the leukemia. It was slowing it down, but it wasn't killing it. And when I'd come back to Australia, I had no options left apart from maybe this bone marrow transplant. In fact, I found an experimental procedure online, and I got compassionate use of that.
Wow.
And there were 3 patients in Australia who got compassionate use of that therapy, and the other 2 died, and I didn't. And
What do you think that
I wasn't prepared to die. I always knew I wasn't going to die. When I got this disease, I had this philosophy which said, prepare to die, plan to live. And ever since, that's how I've worked. Prepare to die, plan to live. But, there's a deeper story under all of this, Deb, and I really want to share that with you.
Yeah.
Because the deeper story is, for the last 47 years, I've been journaling. automatic writing, downloading information. And I think the reason I got leukemia is because I wasn't listening to those downloads. And when I got to end stage disease, I asked my guides or creator or, my higher self, whoever we want to call the universal mind, God, Jesus, I don't mind what name you use, Buddha, it all goes to the same creative source. When I asked for guidance, they gave me a download, and I'd like to share that download with you to just give you a little insight into where I was at. If you like,
I would love that. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure lots of people would love to hear it. I know you've kind of gone through this with me one day when you came up to Broome, and you kind of taught me how to work through and channel and listen and write. And so it's everyone has that ability to do that, don't they?
Everybody has the ability. Everybody can do it. And, once we know that we can empower people to do it, as you know, Deb, this is all about believing in. When somebody else believes in you, you start to believe in yourself, and you can then do magical things. And so my purpose in even talking to you is if I can get you to encourage people to believe in themselves and to lift their consciousness, we can change this planet and change some of the horror that we're going through right now, some of the draconian codswallop is what I call it, that we're going through right now, which is unnecessary. But that's another story. Let me read this to you.
I love that. Yeah.
So I started by saying what I said was, God, my healing is stalled. My need is great. I've almost lost hope, and I need your help and the help of the mother to guide me through. I have the intent, but I feel my process is unique and my role with others has changed. Talk to me. That was my prayer. This is the answer I got back immediately, not within a week or a day, but within seconds of me writing that prayer down. I wrote the prayer down. I got the answer. It said, well, David, it's been a long time since we've communicated like this, but you are now ready for more. I know I said that last time too, but that is the truth. You can take your time to heal because you still have time. It is the body that needs your spiritual help and the mother that needs your acceptance. Your strength of spirit has always overshadowed the mother within you. Now you need to let her arise free from your judgments and constraints. Her presence in you is great and much stronger than you believe. But that is not going to stop the spirit within you from wanting to total control they can't have. Yes, you must surrender to the mother to find the physical balance your body needs to heal. That means listening to the mother, hearing her words, knowing her thoughts, feeling her will, and knowing it. It is necessary to allow the movement within you. Cry out in pain, cry out in joy, cry out in love, cry out in rage, anger, and the real terror of living forever. Don't be afraid to release the judgment that you believe it's bad for you to have to die. And while you fight it, you'll live. You won't. You'll live by accepting the old beliefs and renewing the new belief that salvation is available without death and destruction, but from love and acceptance. Acceptance for all the circumstances in your life, the knowledge that you have created. It is all the acceptance you need to heal. Yes, your body, mind, spirit, and will. Your heart is ready and aching to join the mother, not in forgiveness, but acceptance. A knowledge you have will transform many once you have transformed. And your time to achieve this is soon. Don't be afraid, be ready. Only through acceptance can the healing begin. The cancer will go away quickly once you've completed the process. Failure, yes. And that was my mind going, hey, but I could fail. Failure, yes. That is always your free choice. But like coming to earth was your free choice. You've forgotten your original purpose, but we have not. It is still to lead by transformation. What transformation will occur will be both physical, spiritual, and with will present. Without the presence of will, you will die. The freedom of choice is yours. So I know your mind wants to choose life, but your will wants transmutation, a greater, higher life, a new beginning in a world of new beginnings. So let your will go free and allow it to move through the grief and terror held for eons because of your son's mistakes. Let this misbegotten creation live and prosper with your ability to not judge, but to accept that what has happened, like it's a trip to the dentist after the operation, it really wasn't that bad after all. You'll forgive me for butting in here, grandfather. This is another voice coming to me. But my son is your son. His will is my will. And its love and possible destruction cannot be allowed. So in love and to get his movement going, I'll give him a push that he needs. Yes, love and acceptance of your partner, of your inner well-being. Be selfish and see this as accepting your own will back into your heart, the center of your being, and watch the changes grow in your body and spirit. Allow the pain to go through your being like a fire of transmutation, and feel the dragon within you, and others surprisingly will too. Not at first. When they look at you sideways, they'll notice this fire and wisdom. Not a scary thing, but protection from all that has haunted them in this existence. Yours is the role to remove the fear, only then and only when your own fear has been faced and accepted. You can do this soon. You can do this now. It will be painful and have heartbreak to begin, but pride and balance have no place in this new creation we are all about to enter. You'll enter soon if you pass the test. Cry for the pain you felt when you didn't understand the cause. Cry for the blackness on your soul. Cry for the pain you inflicted on others. While here and before this time, cry for your brothers to join you when you transform into a dragon of fire and light, a healer of souls and fools, a shower of light, and ponder the pain and how it is accepted when each of your parts is returned. Don't cry for me. I am happy with the will recovered and knowing the healing is okay. You'll begin today. Sorry, this goes on for a bit, but it's what I received, word for word. You'll begin today and you'll go on to forgive and accept all those who you thought were bad, but were only fools in the way of viewing their own broken spirits and wills. Don't practice, just do as and when you have to, what you need to do. It will liberate you and those around you who will have been waiting for your movement. Many will wait and they will see it and know it without being told that the beginning of all transmutation has begun in this part of the Mother Earth. She will spread the word like a chain reaction, and soon form will change for many, but not all. Your babies are in fact many, not just those of this physical existence, but many past babies are around you now waiting for your lead. Their lead to being, and then all the mother's will break loose and smother to death the evil suppression on this earth, not from violent upheaval, but because transmutation won't allow old beliefs and boundaries to hold back the true will shining through. Yes, spirit will be there to rejoice because this is a joining, a balancing, a coming together of an imbalanced existence. Everything will change. Yes, even your physical being. Be prepared for the changes are near. That's just the first paragraph. Now, that was written in 2000, 21 years ago. Those changes are actually upon us now. And I have many other, I guess you can call it predictions of what we're going through at the moment and how we handle those circumstances. But I wanted to give you that because I told you the story of my healing. But in reality, before I'd called back all my denied parts and asked the Creator to heal me, I got that message. And there's more magic in us than we might believe. Well, everybody's gone.
And I look at you, and every time I look at you, you're looking younger and younger from the first time I ever met you. Like it's like you're growing younger. It's like the Peter Pan of. And it's not that you haven't had your other health issues related to what you went through then with all the medical treatment that you had. You've obviously had help, but you seem to just keep getting younger and younger.
I'm younger in spirit.
Yeah.
And you know, the body responds amazingly. I mean, I've got a little grayer, but I'm not doing bad for 71.
I think you're doing all right. And that's the experience I had, because you're talking to the Creator, and and getting these downloads. And I guess this is the same sort of aha moments that we're able to do through the Creatrix is getting that download, and it's a personal message coming through every time. And then when you see people going through that, and at the end, and I experienced it myself, we actually looked younger, we actually felt better, we actually felt lighter, and that's what women are going through whenever they're going through that sort of Creatrix. So it is in them, and it's just sometimes someone has to show them that it's there.
All we have to do is trigger it. We can't actually travel the path for anybody. We can only travel our own path. What we can do is honor other people's choices on their journey. That's what we can do. We can show them a doorway, but whether they walk through it is their free will choice. We can enlighten them. We can trigger them. We can make them feel uncomfortable and allow them to do their own research, to follow their own intuition. But every time we do that, we make the planet lighter. Every time and the more people who come to this cause, the lighter the planet gets. Mother Earth, whether you like it or not, is transforming. She is transmuting to a new conscious being. And she's either going to drag you along with you or leave you in the third dimension. And if you're in the third dimension, you're going to be ruled by fear, anguish, anger, poverty, a feeling of lack, a feeling of being out of control, because those are all of the instruments that manipulate people in that environment. Just like the current codswallop that's going on around Australia in various states at the moment, where they're trying to keep people controlled by fear. When I was educated by a couple of religious organisations, they tried to control me as a child with fear of the wrath of God, fear of the authority. And I realised I rejected all of that because it was unenlightening. I responded to love, not fear. I responded to people giving me love and encouragement and support, not fear of punishment.
Yeah.
And, that's mother energy. All the women out there who have got that nurturing spirit, who encourage with love, you're lifting the vibration of the people around you when you do that. That's powerful. It's a beautiful thing. And I think that there are many more women of courage than there are men of courage at this time. There are men who are bullies, who use spirit and posturing and codswallop, again, I use the word all the time, to try and influence and push their way through. But love is what wins out. I've just got a new granddaughter. Oh, she's so gorgeous. And her love shines through. This innocent love, when everybody comes in contact with her, they melt.
Yeah.
Her father, who's supposed to be a tough businessman, I've never seen such a goo-goo man in my life. He's done now. He's done. Every time she looks at him, she's in control. Why? Because she's pure love. She's pure love.
Yeah.
So all the women who you're talking to, if they can do two things: one, express that love, and two, trigger people to a higher consciousness, they can help us change the world. Sorry, I've been preaching.
No, I agree. And if they can find that in themselves, that's why I call it your true self, because you're delving into the deeper core of you that's been there all along, but now you just want to be able to expose it and allow it to spread, because then you're standing in your being, and that can be pretty hard at times, to be able to stand there with what you know and what you think and be committed to that. It can be quite difficult. And so to be then, the more that people can do it, the more it's going to get easier and easier for everyone to do it. But they're following the path, like you said. You can't take them down their path, but they can now walk that path in a stronger stance and more determined, and in a knowing that that's where they're supposed to be going.
Every time we trigger somebody, we open up some energy. When you reveal your true self to someone. They have to reveal their true self back to you. If you have the courage to do that, rather than put the barriers up, which is what most people do. Most people run around with all these crazy barriers up to give you the pretense of who they are, rather than the heart of who they are. But if you could treat everybody like my 3-month-old granddaughter, where there is no pretense, you either love her and hold her, or you don't. And if you don't, she's going to cry because she feels it. And if you do, she's going to goo and fall into your being. And you know, when you pick up your own children and hold them to your bosom, they melt into your being. We can actually do that with people. And when you and I met in the direct sales industry, that's actually was my trick. My trick was I'd hold everybody in open energy. I'd pull them into my being. That was the trick. It's not really a trick. It's just who I am. And for those who were awake, they would get it. And for those who weren't awake, they were threatened by it because it made them feel uncomfortable.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Growth is being able to get through that uncomfortable to the next level. And you're often in that level of uncomfortable because that's where the growth is. I know, it was after I caught up with you again once in Adelaide, and my friend and I, Ellie and I, we were chatting with you, and then next thing you know, I met up with another girlfriend that's in Perth, and then getting on the plane back to Broome, finally, that children's book that I was wanting to write for 2 or 3 years or longer, really, but it was really starting to twirl around in my head, came to pass, and that's how it happened. But you made me question why I hadn't done it yet, and what the hell was I waiting for? And then it just flowed. Actually, like you said, you kind of asked the question, and before you know it, I'd finished it on that flight back. And it sounds like, well, it's only a children's book, it can't take that long to write, there's not that many words. But it actually did. It took,
of course it does.
You've got to put it into the right way so the kids can understand it and get that meaning that you're trying to get across, that they can believe in who they are. Like, how do you put that into words? It actually did take a lot longer than I thought it would too.
But that's you showing your heart. That was you showing your heart. That was you giving love to all of the children who were going to read that book or have that book read to them. They were taking some of your love. That's what made it powerful. That's what made it special. And that's what took the time, because you were crafting that love.
Yeah.
And it's understand. When we start to understand, this is magical, Deb. This is all magical stuff. And everybody has this magic in them. Everybody can do this. So if your audience out there can just take a courageous step forward in something that they haven't decided to do yet, that would be a wonderful reward.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And we can do that in many, many ways. I don't believe in the COVID vaccination as an example, okay? I believe in vaccination. I'm having hepatitis V vaccinations right now. So I'm not an anti-vaxxer. But you know what? I don't believe in being experimented on. And when I look at the TGA website and I see that it's got provisional approval and, there's no safety studies at all. There's no long-term safety studies. There's, tens of thousands of adverse reactions, 399 deaths. Well, I'm not willing to take that risk. That's how I think. Now, I will not be bullied by propaganda from mainstream media. I will not be bullied by that. I will do my own research and make my own informed decisions. Now, some people would disagree with me. Some of my medical practitioners think I'm absolutely crazy. And I say to them, I think in my circumstance, the chances of me getting an adverse reaction from the vaccine is far greater than me catching COVID. I live on a farm in the bush. Leave me alone. Go away.
Yeah.
And I just hate the draconian stuff that's going on around the country, because that's shutting people's psyche down. It's shutting them down. It's getting them to respond to fear. And what I learned from that first passage I read to you is what you have to do is you you pass through your fear. You face your fear and look at what's behind it. You don't deny it and you don't hide from it. You face it. And typically, behind every fear, there's something deeper. And if you can go into that deeper fear and find out what it is, you'll enlighten your body. What happens is when you release the fear, your body gets lighter. Your vibration gets lighter. Your energy gets lighter. You brighten up and you become more attractive to other light bodies, to other people who have enlightened bodies. And you just naturally start to attract them. And we don't have to physically see each other to do that. We can do that. I mean, there you are in Western Australia. I'm over here in Eastern Australia, but we're separated by nothing, you know? Powerful.
Yeah. It's funny because I sent a message to someone the other day and they're like, how did you know? How did you know that I, needed to kind of speak to you, sort of thing? There is that energy that we're in tune with other people and those on that wavelength. I guess that's why we say you're on my wavelength. It's that frequency,
When everybody is up in this fifth dimension and we're all edging in there right now, we're edging in there. We're being bombarded at the moment with photons from this part of the galaxy that are activating DNA codes in your body and opening up new strands of DNA. You are changing whether you like it or not, which is the reason you might feel fatigue, the reason you might feel anxious sometimes, the reason you may not be able to sleep sometimes, because these are physical changes going on in your light body, in your spiritual makeup and in your physical makeup. And you're receiving vibrations which are triggering a lot of this stuff. And I'm telling you this because this was downloaded to me 10 years ago and I was told this was going to happen. Now, what I know is when you've been enlightened, when your DNA code has changed, when you speak to other people, you trigger their code changing as well. So, and people will either shy away from you or they'll run to you. There's not much in between. Now, the reason I'm saying that is because as your vibration lifts and these DNA codes start to be activated, so does your telepathy. And ultimately, we're going to be living in a world where you cannot hide your true intent. Distance won't do it. And when true intent cannot be hidden, crime disappears. Deceit disappears. Why? Because it cannot be hidden. There is no duality. You are what you express. Everybody can read it. And if you are service to others and you have a loving heart, that's what they read. And if you're service to self and deceitful and, and wish to harm others, that will be clear as well. And you'll be rejected. It just becomes, so there'll be a natural sorting out of people as their intent becomes more and more obvious. So that intuitiveness that you go where you're saying, I've got to ring Mary, and Mary says, how did you know I was thinking about you? You're going to go, of course. You're not going to go, isn't that magical? You're going to go, of course.
Yeah.
Or I want Mary to ring me. So she will, of course. And the more you use that and become to that, the more that will happen.
Yeah, when you're freeing away a lot of that layering, freeing that layering away, you start to...
Well, it's programming. You're being programmed. Switch off the television. That's programming. I don't watch TV.
No, I don't either.
Okay. Why? Because it's programming. It's codswallop. It's bullshit. It's just, it's to keep you fearful, to talk about horror and murder and disease and restrictions. Well, just switch it off. And for most of the time, it's not going to bother you. If it's really important, you'll find out.
Yeah. Well, there's always someone around that can tell you.
But every time the Premier of Western Australia does a press conference, you don't need to hear that. It's just codswallop. He's just rattling the bucket and wanting the pigs to come.
Yeah. No, I must say, I said a while ago to anyone, please, turn off your TV. get out in the sunshine. I mean, vitamin D is what we need, although it's raining today for us, but we've had some beautiful bits of vitamin D. And you know, I said to my students yesterday, session that we're doing, go outside, get
Let
in
me
the
tell you
vitamin
my
D.
regime.
We just
I'll
need
tell you my
to.
vitamin regime, okay?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
3,000 units of vitamin D every day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, 1,000 units, milligrams of vitamin C, vitamin B12, zinc, magnesium twice a day. You're asking me why I feel. I take 12,000 milligrams of fish oil a day. Okay, people say, "Oh, you shouldn't be doing that. It thins your blood." Well, seems to be fine for me. And it was prescribed by a professor of lipids medicine because he couldn't give me pharmaceuticals. So he said, he apologized, said, "I can't give you the pharmaceuticals to reduce your cholesterol, so I'll have to prescribe massive amounts of fish oil, omega-3. I thought, wait a minute, you're apologizing for not giving me a drug and you're giving me a natural supplement? What's going on here? Okay. I have been taking those supplements now for years. I don't get colds. I don't get the flu, and I don't need a vaccine, even though I'm immune compromised, believe it or not.
Mm. Well, you're going through stuff even as we speak.
Yeah, I'm having dialysis right now because the anti-rejection drugs they gave me after the 4 transplants destroyed my kidneys. But it's a minor inconvenience, really. You know, I'm still here, I'm alive, I'm well. And one day somebody's going to offer me a kidney for a transplant because they don't need 2. And if they donate one to me, the remaining kidney will grow to about twice its normal size, so it'll do the job anyhow. I know that actually happens. So if anybody's out there who's got a spare kidney, please let me know because I've got a lot of work to do.
Just send me a message, I'll pop you on to David. You do have a lot of work to do. You really have impacted so many people. I know personally, and so many out there that you've actually impacted, and how your stories impacted them, your growth that has come from that, and your connection to that higher being, and that ability to be able to speak it and share it and get that message of hope and love and knowing out there.
We're at a time right now, Deb, where we need as many people enlightened as we can. The turmoil that's going on around the world at the moment, and particularly in Australia, my downloads tell me it's going to get worse before it gets better.
Mm.
What they said to me is, don't participate, be an observer and send out love. Trigger people's higher emotions, because there will be violence. There will be, and you don't want to participate in it. You want to be an observer, that's okay. Observe it, but step a little bit back from it. Don't buy into the fear. Don't buy into the panic. Don't buy into the anxiety. Step back from that. Observe it, see that it's happening, but see it through the eyes of the enlightened, not through the eyes of the fearful.
Mm.
And we will get through this, and we'll come out the other side with new communities, stronger people, loving families, loving communities, people who will be judged on the glow of their inner being, not on the car they drive, the house they live in, and the title of their job, which is all bullshit.
Mm. Mm.
You know, I mean, I've had the nice cars and the good titles, and I've traveled the world, as you know. I've done all of that. But I can tell you, when you're lying in the ICU on a respirator, wondering whether you're going to get another breath, none of that means anything. Doesn't mean anything.
No.
But the people you love and the people who love you means everything.
Mm. Oh, and I concur with that one. You know, I had my husband in an induced coma on a ventilator, and you know that was obviously that. It's still, you know, I still think about it, and it still makes me so grateful that he's here. But it was a scary time, you know. But I also knew that it wasn't his time, and there was always that feeling and that deep knowing that everything was going to be okay. Mm. Yeah, it reminds me of that. Have you read the story about Dr. Hugh Len with the Ho'oponopono?
No, I haven't.
And the way he actually he was invited into a criminal asylum, mental asylum, but one with you know, criminally insane people, and his way of treating them, he actually didn't see them at all. He spent time reading their, just going through their notes and practicing the I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you phrase. And it wasn't to say, you know, asking forgiveness from himself, or it was just a phrase to a higher being. And he focused on that particular patient while he was doing it all the time. And eventually they actually closed that ward down completely because they were all healed, basically, and that energy that he was giving off was enough to, firstly, it started that there was less sick days from staff. The feeling in the ward was much better, and eventually, yeah, it closed because there was no one left in there because they were all, you know, regained their mental health.
Beautiful. How beautiful is that? You aware of the 100th monkey theory? You're not. Let me explain it to you.
Okay.
The 100th monkey theory is basically based around some experiments that were done by Japanese scientists, I think 50 or 60, maybe even 70 years ago. There's some islands around Japan where there's a certain species of monkey that live on those islands. And these Japanese scientists were experimenting with these monkeys, and they had several monkey communities on islands which were separated from each other, and there was no connection. You know, the monkeys couldn't get from one island to the next. And so on one particular island, they started feeding the monkeys yams, and they'd just take a Hessian bag full of yams and throw them on the beach, and the monkeys would come down to the beach and eat the yams. And then so they did this on a couple of islands, and on a couple of other islands they didn't make any change because they wanted to see what changes would happen to the monkeys' behavior if they were being fed rather than finding their own food. Eventually, one of the monkeys on one of the islands worked out that if they washed the yams before they ate them, they tasted better and they didn't get sand in their mouth. Eventually, all of the monkeys on that island washed the yams because they saw each other washing yams. Then something interesting happened. When the 100th monkey started washing their yams, all the monkeys on all of the islands started washing yams before they ate them. In other words, there was a group consciousness. And when it got to critical mass, the whole consciousness changed to that behavior. That's the 100th monkey theory. And that's what we're trying to initiate right now with the human race. We want to get the 100th monkey. We're the monkeys, where our consciousness is lifted to the 5th dimension. And when we do that, all consciousnesses will lift. Then there will be clear communication because we'll be able to see your true intent. There will be no hiding. There will be no deceit. You'll only, unless you show love in your heart, society won't accept you. You'll have to go to another place because we'll be able to see you for who you are in truth. But most people we know who we see want to be loving and are loving. They don't want to be rejected. They want to feel worthy. And they blossom when you show them worthiness, when you recognize them as being worthy, worthwhile, and lovable human beings. And when you show people that, they blossom, they shine. That's going to be the 5th dimension. That's the world we're coming to. But we've got a bit of pain to go through yet.
Right, we can get through the pain knowing that there's something amazing, you know, to be on the other side, other side of, you know, wherever it is, that 5th dimension it's within us. It's not really anywhere, it's just within us.
Yes.
That's the way I see it anyway.
We can do this again if you want to sometime.
I would love to, yes. And I'm so grateful that you could come on, and thank you for that reading. If anyone wants to try it, how did you just ask the question and then you just allow things to flow?
I have a diary. I always have one with me. So a book. Yeah. I just open it. I put a pen to the paper. That's it. And I ask the question. and I watch the pen write.
For the millennials and the
short-
younger generation, it's not the same doing that on a computer. You need a
can't do it
pen
on a
and
computer.
paper.
You must use a piece of paper and write, okay? Because there's too much mental action involved in typing. What you want is the flow of the words. Quite often I can't even read my own words. It's virtually shorthand. It's just coming out so fast. Okay, some people can just speak it so you can record it, but you got to know that it's intuitive and it's in that space. So when I first started doing it, I used to meditate first. Now I can do it anytime.
Mm-hmm.
But when I first started doing it, I'd meditate for 20 minutes just to get connected.
Yeah.
And then I'd sit down and let it write. And when it felt like it was exhausted, I'd stop. And I wouldn't read it. I'd read it another day.
Yeah.
So that's a way to have a go.
Okay. Brilliant. All right.
And
Well,
I'll be interested in the feedback.
I would be too. I'd love to know what people are actually getting down there. I'm going to start it again. I have done it previously, but I think it's a really good way to get some answers that we might be looking for.
I've got piles of journals this high over 47 years, nearly 50 years of doing it. But, you know, it's rewarding.
Mm.
And I don't do it every day. I might do it once a month, sometimes once every 2 months, sometimes once every 6 months, and then sometimes once every day for 3 weeks. It's just as it flows.
Yeah.
It's not about a discipline. It's about when the moment takes you.
Right. Thank you.
Thanks for having me,
sharing.
Deb.
And I will have you on again. That would be wonderful. Always so much value talking to you, David. I love you.
Thank you, darling. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.